Excellent.
Man, we're here.
Here we are. I want to talk to everybody today. This thing has completely evolved under our feet as we expected it would. So I'm at a step in the financial journey. Technically I'm the world's newest millionaire. I'm at one step. But Chris, who I hired out of the blue, made a literally a cold phone call, called out of the blue, had him help me produce these videos, is like the perfect candidate for someone I want to explain how to join and enter the financial journey and meet me here in freedom, right? This is my goal. And I do want to kind of just say for the record, I want to say to the audience that I'm not getting paid a penny to do this. This is in some ways my paying it back to the universe, if you want to call it that. It's my way to pay it forward, try to bring other people into this fold, try to get other people to be released from these shackles of working for the man. I want more millionaires out there and fewer people getting farther and farther into debt. And so, interestingly enough, talking with Chris, who's behind the camera in the first couple of episodes and working the mics and all this kind of stuff, he's revealing to me pieces of his financial story and his personal life that are just ringing all kinds of bells and raising red flags for me. And I said, you know what, Chris? You should be in this show. You need to be part of this conversation because you are, in effect, the perfect candidate for getting someone onto a new path towards independence. Mm-hmm. And you have obliged us. You said, hey, my life is an open book. I'm ready to do this. Just put me in, coach, and let's see where it goes. So we're going to try this. We're going to have, again, I'm at one point of the journey, millionaire status. Chris here is at a different point of the journey. Mm-hmm. We're going to bring Chris's journey to you guys and have you watch him. We're going to try to bring him up here, and I think we can do it. Only time will tell, and frankly, a lot of it comes down to Chris, of course, but I'm going to provide the tools. He's going to help package these tools and deliver it to you guys out in the YouTube universe, and we're going to have Chris sitting here in 10 years or less giving these lessons to some other guy who is also just like you, right?
Man, if that's what happens, that's what happens. So it's crazy too to think like how all this, as I'm running the audio of this show too. Right. So it's crazy to think how all this happened because I made the intention, I told you this on 9/7, that I wanted to become financially independent and financially secure. And then you came up on my Upwork account, which I never check. And then we filmed a couple episodes, then it developed into this. And, one thing that YouTube's taught me is if you create endless value for other people, it works. And then I've always tried to find value. And then this came up and it just seems like a really good solution to my problem, but also helping the next person. And you building a product from it all too, and starting whatever journey this leads you to. So
exactly. No, we'll have to show the audience at some point your manifesting note that you wrote on the day. I mean, oddly enough, it was the day before my birthday. You wrote a note to yourself saying you want to reach and begin the journey towards financial independence. The very next day, I called you. I mean, the stars align in weird ways that no one can ever tell. Right? This is the way the miraculous universe works. I want to point out that, we keep talking about millionaire and it's a bit of a hype number because it is fundamentally an artificial number. It's purely arbitrary. Mm-hmm. For instance, if I was a millionaire in Europe, if I was a millionaire in Holland or in England, I would actually be much more than a millionaire in the United States because of the differences in currency exchanges, right? So $1 million is equal to 1.15 million euros and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So this isn't to diminish the fact that it's a substantial milestone to reach in life, but it is not an end. It's not like the end of the journey. Oh, I reached millionaire. Now I can suddenly just stop and sit on my laurels and all is good. I've reached the pinnacle of financial independence because, as we said, financial independence is more about the ratio between your passive income and your cost of living. It actually has nothing to do with your net worth. You could have an amazingly high net worth. You could be worth many, many billions of dollars, but if you're spending more than you make passively, you're still not free. You still have to work to do that. So it's just something to point out to the rest of the world here and go from there. But I wanted to talk about this manifesting note. Yeah. Your idea that you wanted to do something with your financial life. And so the very first thing we did, and it's literally in the back of an envelope that you have here scattered in front of us, is we talked about getting you just the back of an envelope ballpark figure of what your net worth was. Yep. And you, in 5 minutes after we finished our first or second session, sort of penciled out that you thought your net worth was something like $58,000 negative in the hole, which is not at all uncommon. In fact, it's probably the norm in America today, particularly for someone just starting out like you. And so we're taking this exercise today to get a more high fidelity, high resolution picture of your net worth. And so you went, and all kudos to you. You went back and you started doing your homework.
Yeah, it was
right?
a
in
struggle.
fact, I'm going to show the audience. I got to show the audience. So this is his homework, right? He went back. He took the back of the envelope and wrote it up. This is, again, not super fancy. This is maybe a 5 or a 10 minute kind of thing to write down.
Yeah, it took some time.
And what was the time that it took? Because was it just collecting the information?
Yeah, so the hardest thing was getting logged into the bank accounts or to the accounts. Luckily, they sent me some in the mail, which was nice. But yeah, the logins took the longest time. Overall, I mean, I went for a walk and did it. That's what I was starting to hit a block, and I was like, no, I got to do this. We got to get moving on it. So the walk was my way to pacify. But overall, I'd say it probably took 30 minutes total between trying to get the logins, 2-point verifications, email login, so forth. But
yeah, no, I love this because this is so common, right?
Yeah,
this is a psychic exercise more than a financial one. It's all in our heads.
Yeah,
100%. The idea of debt is just a scary thing. People do not like thinking about it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to show their numbers to the audience, to millions of viewers. But that's what it's all about. Is it's trying to take a step back and say, you know what? I just need to face this fact. And once I can write the numbers down or write my debts down, then it's a target I can begin to whittle away at. And it's no longer this sort of diffuse, nebulous, boogeyman in the corner.
Oh, for
you
sure.
now know exactly what your target is. And so all credit to you. You've now crunched your numbers. And your numbers are different than what you thought they were.
Yeah.
They're actually better than you thought they were. Originally, you thought your net worth was negative $58,000, in the hole. And now let me look at your numbers here.
Yeah.
Now you're saying, actually, when you've got the bank statements in front of you, you've actually quantified your assets, you've quantified your liabilities. Your net worth today is $43,000 in the hole.
Yeah.
It's still down,
but it's better than
but it's a lot better than it was last week.
Negative 58,000 was the other one. And granted, my assets had gone up a little bit since then, but student loan was actually lower than I thought it was. The car came out a little bit better, and the personal gear, my gear, I think I undershot on the other one. So
yeah,
and then I got these mics and all this other stuff too. So,
well, this is the takeaway to everybody out there is just bite the bullet. It's not that big of a bite. It wasn't that hard. You just said out loud it was sort of a half hour of writing some stuff down and doing a long walk and beginning to wrap your head around it, and then getting the statements, finding the logins, doing all those irritating things. But it's such a difference, right?
Yeah.
Chris has now taken a step that almost no one does, which is just addressing and facing the problem on paper and addressing it. How many years has this been building up?
So this is 3 years in the making.
Yeah.
But the hardest thing was, it was essentially, I found myself getting blocked right away, not wanting to do it, which I think everybody will be able to relate to. But then it's like, knowing what I know about the universe and this and that, it's like shine light on the darkness, and the shadow starts to fade away. Same thing as like anything we do in production. As soon as you shine light on it, you get to see everything that's hidden. So the sooner you make that step, even though it hurts, it's going to be discomfort or uncomfortable, but just keep baby steps.
Yeah.
Just chip away at it.
No, I think this is absolutely the key takeaway. And we had said somewhere along the line that this is a bit like a reverse weight loss program. Like, you're actually trying to gain financial weight through time. You're actually trying to get to be 1 million pounds, right?
Yeah.
And you're actually negative 43,000 pounds right now. And so you're trying to change that equation, but now you have a number.
Yeah.
Like, who could effectively have a weight loss program if you didn't have a bathroom scale? Like, if you didn't know whether the behavioral changes you're making are actually having any effect, right?
Yeah.
You would never know. Like, you could be doing everything in the world and it turns out that you're actually gaining weight, and you would be shooting in the dark, right?
For sure.
We're just taking that very simple step of putting it all into one number and saying, my goal is to gain financial weight. Here's my weight on day one, and here's the weight I want to be at in day 6,000, whatever that is. And now you have a number that you can track, and you can watch the changes, and you can measure your behavioral changes in numbers, right?
And I think something I want to ask you too, that I think somebody might be asking, is what's the goal here? The goal is to hit 0 on net worth, I think would be the first, or where are the checkpoints or the milestones?
Yeah, this is great. It's great. So 0 net worth is clearly better than negative net worth. So I would say 0 net worth is a very good milestone. Like, I think in your case, we need to aim at that.
Okay.
Like from a goal setting psychic perspective, if you set these really vast, goals way out in the future that say, I want to be a billionaire. I want to have $1 billion.
That's going to happen.
That's fine, but I mean, it's so far out that you can't make meaningful progress towards that goal in a meaningful amount of time. So saying 0 gives you a milestone that you can actually attack. I think by the end of this year, you can be at 0.
Cool.
In fact, I'm going to go on camera and say, by the end of this year, by the beginning of 2022, Chris is going to be at net worth 0. I'm actually hoping we're going to have him a little bit positive, but let's just aim for 0, get him to stop digging the hole.
Yeah.
Stop digging the debt hole and get back up to 0 and be debt free. That in itself puts you in in an important category in American society.
Yeah.
I would say that almost all Americans, I don't have the data in front of me, we can look it up, but I bet you that the vast majority of Americans are actually in their net worth hole, right? Their debt is exceeding their net worth.
I think that's the American culture. I mean, that's kind of every American, like you said in one episode, was the surgeon, or the action item was surgeons make a ton of money, but they have all their school debt. Yeah. They're still feeding their ego. They have a nice house, a nice car to fit the image. And that's the American culture. I mean, that's why I bought an Audi, because I was like, all entrepreneurs drive Audis.
Right.
Even though I should have kept the Ford Fusion, it would have been, $3,000 better right now. But
even though we know the stories, we know that Warren Buffett has sort of a mediocre house in Omaha. We know that Jeff Bezos drove a Honda Accord. Yep. We know these stories, and yet we reject them, saying, well, that's not the kind of rich I want to be. I want to be the super fabulous, shiny rich.
For sure.
You can be, and believe me, there are super shiny, fabulously rich people. You can get there, but you have to get there in the intelligent way.
For sure.
Like right now, most of us are just victims and slaves to marketing. Now, we watch TV.
For sure.
We're always trying to compare. We're always trying to make sure that we look as good as our high school, fellow graduates and stuff. And it ruins us. It destroys us. And next 100%. Thing you know, we're buying liabilities instead of assets. We're making choices that are beyond our means. We're living beyond our means. Our cost of living is far in excess of our passive income. And so we just create this hole that we can never get out of because we don't even see it as a hole.
Yeah.
You know exactly how deep your hole is.
Yeah.
It ain't pretty.
It's
43,000 or whatever it is.
43,842.99 feet deep. Yeah. We can convert that to feet.
I like that metaphor. It actually sounds a little bit better than dollars, right?
I mean, no matter what, it's energy. Money's energy, and it's like all we got to do is, 1, become aware of it. Number 2, I already know my skills to get out of it, but now it's like, how can we get out of it quicker with the entrepreneur spirit and journey of just like endlessly chipping away at it? Because like the intention of literally getting financially secure and free manifested this. Now the intention of let's have a net worth of 0 by the end of the year. How's that going to manifest? I don't know, but
we don't know. But we're going to walk through that today and actually come up with some actionable things that you can do going when we leave this studio. Yeah. As we're going to go back, and you can have things you can do, and starting next week, that number is going to go down.
Yeah.
I absolutely flipping guarantee it.
Let's do it.
And before we do that, I want to tell a quick funny story about my son, who's in the other room doing his math homework, I hope, right now on homeschool. He really wanted a BB gun. This is like a BB gun like I've never seen. It looks like something out of like.
Is it a Christmas story?
No, that's what I would expect. No, this is like black. It looks like a machine gun. It looks like it's something out of SEAL Team 6 or something.
Oh boy.
He wanted this thing so bad he could taste it, right?
Yeah.
And so he finally he came to me and said, I got to have this gun. It's $108. Can I have it? And I said, I'll buy it for you, but you're going to have to owe me. You're going to have to pay me back in chores, and any extra money you get, you're going to have to pay me back. So I bought it for him on Amazon. This thing arrives. It's super slick. After about a week, like a gasket broke on it, and it's not really working the way it did.
You bought it in retrograde. That's the problem. You never buy anything new in retrograde.
Whatever it was. I still made him pay for it, right?
Yeah.
He's still having to pay. First off, he coughed up the $25 he had saved up, and then every time he's doing chores, instead of getting paid for chores, I'm saying, nope, that's actually going back to me.
Yeah.
And finally one day he goes, debt sucks. And I said, 100%. It does suck. It hurts to be in debt. We want to get out of debt as much as we can, as soon as we can. And so, in fact, one of the techniques or systems out there that I want to talk about, actually Dave Ramsey is somebody I follow. Dave Ramsey he's a radio show host, and he has a technique that he calls the debt snowball, and I think we should do that today with your numbers as we have them. because he's also on to the idea that debt and financial freedom is a psychic exercise as much as it is a numbers exercise, right? And so he says that if you do a debt snowball, it means rank stacking your debts from biggest to smallest, right? So maybe do that while I'm talking a little bit. Just try to put a 1 or whatever, just to get it. The idea, what we're trying to do is find out what your smallest debt is. This sounds a little bit backwards, but he actually recommends that you start with your smallest debt first. You actually tackle the lowest hanging fruit. The $1,000 credit card bill that's been hanging on to your heels for the last 4 years, whatever. We all have these things. And tackle that one first, because the psychic victory you get in tackling that tiny or the tiniest of your debts really makes a difference. It gives you energy and enthusiasm to tackle the next one. And you begin to get this debt snowball in which you're actually snowballing uphill. You're actually gaining momentum through time. So Chris has laid out for us before we started filming, it looks to me like about 10, maybe 10 or 11 various debts that he owes, right? He actually owes money on credit cards, on his car. He's got a student loan. He's got some various bank loans, PayPal account, and so forth. So you just ranked and stacked. So where did you come out with, if you don't mind just telling the audience, or a quick summary of them all?
So number 1 would be student loans, coming in at $26,170. Number 2 is my car loan at $11,031.28. Then from here, number 3, it's kind of hidden. Let's figure it out. Oh, number 3 is Bank of America business loan for $7,000. Number 4 is Chase credit card for $6,391.54. Number 5 is a Discover card that I've already started settling at about $4,500. Nebraska Furniture Mart credit card at $3,500.
Oh, Furniture Mart.
Yeah, that was for the business equipment for all my stuff. Okay, so we use that to get all the electronics.
Gotcha.
We'll break these down too after, so I can kind of break them up, so I'm not just like some credit card junkie over here.
And by the way, I want to interrupt you. As much as we might tease you, kudos to you for being willing to do this in public, because most people are pretty icky and iffy about their personal finances, but you are not abnormal. You are straight in the middle of the pack. This is how everyone is.
This is entrepreneurship at its finest.
The only difference is that you're tackling it and everybody else isn't, right? So again, hats off to you. So don't take it personally if we tease
absolutely not. Then I got State Farm credit card at $3,165. And then I have a PayPal at $3,000, and I think I missed a Wells Fargo card at $2,775. Okay, which comes out to a grand total of $66,554.99.
Okay, so those are all your debts. That's your entire liability stack is $66,000. And again, the reason his net worth is more than that, i.e., less negative than that, is because he's added his assets to that equation in order to get his net worth, right?
Yeah, and real quick too, and a lot of, besides the car and the student debt, this is all built from credit card debt of a business that we sunk right out of the gates, which is, I think, a very relatable factor if you're an entrepreneur, because we've spoken about this. Entrepreneurs at one point in their venture sink their ship once. Every investor said I was blessed to do it on my first one, which I didn't think so. But at this point, it makes sense.
And we are lucky to live in an American culture which tends to idealize that kind of behavior, the risk-taking behavior, the failure. There are cultures, Japanese culture is notorious for, if you fail once, you might as well just jump off a building, because you can't fail, never fail, right?
Elon
in
Musk.
America, we say, no, everyone, you have to fail
quick, do it
in
a
fact,
lot.
we might even be doing it too much. We might even be promoting this sort of mythology of failure, maybe to our detriment, but it's better than the alternative. So either way, good on you for racking it all out. So right now, just what is your smallest debt?
My smallest debt would be the Wells Fargo loan at $2,775.29.
Okay, so we have our target for our debt snowball. We're going to start with that one, because the victory, Oh, you changed your mind?
I'm sorry, the Amazon one's at $2,270.
All right, so they're
however,
close,
but then we got to bring in the settlement score too.
Yeah,
that's through one of these Chase things.
So let's talk about that. So he's mentioned settlement a couple times. Now, settlement is kind of an edgy word, and I'm not a certified financial planner, so whatever. This is my take on settlements. It's particularly in this sort of post-COVID era, the world is flush in cash, and debt holders, banks, credit cards, all these people are much more willing to forgive debt than they have been. Mm-hmm. This is oddly a very opportune moment to settle debts.
Good time to be
where
alive.
You can call them up and say, "Hey, Mr. Chase, I know I owe you $6,000, but I'd like to pay you $2,000 and call it a day." They may very well take you up on that.
Let's use the real case here.
All right, so we actually have a real case from Chase where you have a $2,230 balance on a credit card.
So that's the Amazon one.
Okay. All right, so these guys, now listen to this. Chase is now willing to offer Chris the opportunity to pay a $2,230 debt for $335. I can't do the math in my head, but we're talking like 1/15 of what his
That's
due
insane.
Is. That's insane. This is a deal you don't want to pass up, right? At this point, pay it. Call them up. If you've got the cash, do you have the cash on hand?
Yeah, I got the cash for that for sure. That's what I was. Essentially, the thing with this was, that's why I brought these today. Ironically, they came in the mail, and I was like, we were planning this to be later, but I was like, I looked at this yesterday and was like, this is a hell of a deal.
Yeah.
And it's almost too good to be true, but then it's also like, all right, this is manifestation happening in real life. And it's
right.
And then we've talked about this. Is settlement going to hurt the credit score? I don't know. But the crazy thing is just knocking out the debt and getting it out of the way, settlement or not, because it all goes back to how they score it.
See,
but
this actually started our conversation is because you were worried about the credit score implications of this, and rightfully so. And by the way, everybody be careful. You got to manage your credit score. It is your score, and you want to be careful with it. But your lingering question about that sort of hung you up for days, weeks, months, I don't know, a certain amount of time, right? You're not knowing quite if that was really a good deal or not, right? The answer is that's a really, really good deal. And the answer is it may influence your credit score. What they say on here specifically is that they are going to report this. They are going to notify the credit reporting agencies that the account has been paid for less than the full balance. That's what they're going to. So in other words, they're not saying we're going to tell the credit reporting agencies that you are, a derelict deadbeat. Yeah. They're not telling it. They're just saying that you paid it off for less than it was full due, right? I actually think, again, don't quote me on this. I actually think that has almost zero credit score implication.
Yeah, because at the end of it too, they're going to look at how much I owe versus how much I have in the pool, or just how much I owe in general is the number that affects FICO the most. So
right, and at the end of the day, what is a credit score? A credit score is, again, we got to keep this in mind.
In the entrepreneur world, is nothing. We're just like,
a credit score is simply a metric that the big credit reporting agencies use in order to offer you more credit. Yeah. What is credit? Debt. Like, it's basically a number saying how good a bet you are to offer more debt to.
Yeah,
that's what a credit score is.
We don't want debt here.
You don't want debt
unless we're running like a giant business like Jeff Bezos, and where you're already throwing billions into $1 billion industry.
This is a weird double-edged sword.
At this point, I'm trying to hit zero.
Yeah. So in other words, yes, credit scores do matter, but they don't matter as much as we think. Credit scores matter far less to people's individual life than your debt itself, right? If you can eliminate your debt, take the hit on the credit score. Unless you're at you're 1 week away from closing on your first house or something, where a credit score actually has bearing on your life. Credit score has bearing on your life in a few episodes of your life. Buying a house is the big one. Yeah, you want to have a pretty decent score in order to get a decent loan with decent terms, so that you can reduce your overall payments through time when you buy something substantial on credit, like a house, right? Yeah. But unless you're doing that, it is wise to get out of debt first. That will actually probably pay longer term dividends on your credit score by having that debt eliminated. Then by trying to play it loose, by trying to manage, massage your credit score into some sort of 800 point range. Yeah. Don't worry about it. At this point, my advice to you: bite that bullet, pay those debts, take that offer on the settlement, take whatever hit on your credit score. Which I'm going to just go on record saying I bet it's negligible, like less than 5 points.
Yeah, I bet it's not bad at all. And that's where it's almost like you said, this is too good of a deal to pass up.
This is a no-brainer. Take that, and when we come again next week, let's see what happens to your net worth, because in theory, your net worth will be now going up. Each one of those debts you're knocking out, that $2,000 here, the $4,000 there, bam, bam, bam. Your net worth, your whole, is getting shallower and shallower.
Yeah, and then just seeing that debt disappear is already like just growing.
Gives me the chills.
Yeah, no, it's making me already excited to think like, all right, we're gonna be at 40 next week,
Right.
and then after that, like, oh, we're gonna be at 35, and just
Right.
keep chipping away at it. So
Right. So what you just did with the debt snowball thing, I think is good. You want to, Dave Ramsey is sort of religious about it. He says, debt snowball, take your smallest and always go to the biggest. I kind of, sure, take that as a general rule, smallest to biggest. But if there's something coming up in the middle of your pack, that's a good deal to swap out now, just go ahead and do that.
cool.
You want to take a quick break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break. Make sure the cameras are all right. All right, so we were off camera actually talking about this on our little break. So looking at these two deals, what are they at? So what's the total debt, real quick?
Yeah. So what Chase is basically saying is that you owe them over $8,500. Right?
$8,500 to Chase,
and they're basically saying, hey, we're crying uncle, and we are willing to just take about $1,300 from you, and we'll call it a day. Like, you walk with no debt on your name. They're going to report it to the credit reporting agencies as paid less than the full balance, which I'm going on record as saying is probably negligible hit on your credit score.
Yeah, I've had another guy who sunk a boat. He said take the settlement.
Yeah,
and he's back in millionaire status.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's a wise move, and so they're sweetening the already sweet deal by offering you some staggered payment plans, which is good, and so they've got 3 different options. You can pay it in lump sum, you can break it up into 2 payments, or you can break it up into 3. And so tell me what you were thinking.
So one of them was what's the one? It's at $2,300 one. So that one's at $111 a month. We'll call it for 3 payments. So, and then the other one was for $6,000. Was at how much a month? 3.
They're offering $319.
So that's at $319. So essentially, I asked Paul, it's like, should I just like tackle 1 or tackle 2? And he said, if you can afford both, let's do it. And then I'm like, production season tends to slow down around November, December, January, unless I get lucky with events and Christmas photos maybe this year. Who knows? And plus, wedding season's booming for me right now. But essentially what I said was, what if I staggered them and did the $111 one first, got out the first month, so got ahead of that one, and then next month come back around and say, all right, we're doing still pretty good. Let's go ahead and add this one, so that they'd be staggered. So I'd finish the 111 one in 3 months, and then 4 months later, the 300 and whatever that one came out, $19 one would be done. But then essentially in 4 months instead of 3 months, I'm still knocking out $8,000 worth of debt for $1,300.
Right. And so as the sort of mentor in this position, I know Chris's personality and getting to know him better and better. I think it sounds good to me, but I also know that you're prone to doing things the clever way, like the slick way, and maybe too clever, right? So I would say the staggered idea makes sense on paper, as long as you hold yourself to it. And that you draw it out on your little notebook that you have here, that you say, all right, I'm going to pay this first one here on whatever it is, the 12th of October, and I'm going to have this all laid out. In fact, I'm going to go to my automatic payments and set it up right now. Yeah. Because the danger when you try to get too creative, and we all do this game, believe me, I spend a lot of time doing this as well. We're like, oh, I can move this pawn over here and this, and you get so slick that you paint yourself into weird corners that you don't anticipate, right? Yeah. Because these guys are good at it. The debt collectors are really good at this game, and they tend to capitalize on people's cleverness. They think they can beat the system, but they usually can't. So I'd say your intuition is right. Okay. You just have to keep yourself in range. Yeah. Right? You got to make sure you know exactly what you're doing. What
I've done. So I have one of these actively going right now. I did a 10-year one with Discover, but I think they essentially take my bank account information and it's on automatic draw. Yeah. So it's automatic payment set up through them. They're like, cool, what's your bank account number? What's your routing number? Great. So on this date, we're going to pull this much and you'll get an email.
Right.
Okay, cool. So
what do you think, just ballpark, do you think you could afford in debt payments? Like you were iffy when I said could you swallow $400?
That's tricky because
begins to push your
So where I'm at with entrepreneurship is we have a lot of word of mouth coming in, but it's never consistent. Some months I'll make $4,000, $5,000. Other months I'll make like $2,000. But no matter what, every month lately I think I've hit $2,500 or more. So
all right, I'm gonna go on record as saying this is because you're manifesting this, because you're focusing on financial independence and focusing on wise financial moves. Not only is your debt side, all these offers that came in, that's already helping you out, but your income side is going to happen too. I'm going to say that your winter season, your production season can go through the season. I'm going to talk you up to Weston's Chamber of Commerce and Father Christmas, and we're going to work out some deal where you're going to do photographs of kids with Santa Claus and Weston, and it's going to pop. Like you're going to have money.
Let's do it.
Coming out of your ears, but it's going to be oriented towards paying off debt. Like it's not going to buy another Audi right now, but it might in the future, right? So I like your staggered idea. Let's try it out. Just draw up a plan and hold yourself to it.
Yeah.
Be smarter than yourself. Hold yourself to that staggered plan. Start with the smallest one. Follow Dave Ramsey's advice with this
especially
snowball.
with these, with the payoff.
So start with this first one. Get it started immediately. Do that first payment immediately.
I'll do that right after this conversation.
Yeah, and then start rolling in this number 2. Around December, January.
Okay.
Because we have a goal. We want to get you to 0 in the next 2 months.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be tough to do, but I think it could be worked out. We'll see.
We
might have been a little optimistic, but and that $43,000 in 3 months is not insane.
No, and I'm glad you're bringing it up like that too. Is the hardest thing about repayment at this point, from my standpoint, is. So when you sink your ship, like I sunk it, I did a full sink of, we almost got evicted for rent because we couldn't pay it, and our rent's $1,000, so $500 a piece. It got that close on the journey, and that was like the valley of death in my entrepreneurship journey. Was like, all right, this is how close I'm going to 0. It was so scary that even though I have $3,000 in my bank account right now, like $3,000 is almost like, dude, tomorrow it could be 0.
No.
And that's the hardest thing on the repayment is, and that's what, are you comfortable with? Like I don't know. And then it's like, my intuition is like, you can manifest anything, commit to it, be open to more opportunities coming in, because you almost get in that scarcity fear based of what if, and then the flip side is like, what if I do this? Great things will happen. I'm going to be open to that. So I think that's an important part too, is like not wishfully thinking, but knowing that it's going to work and just trusting it.
Yeah.
And that's like you said, who knows what opportunities come in.
Yep. And
then on top of that, I was like, I forgot I had a wedding. I'm going to Iowa in November. So there's another like $1,000 coming in just like that.
Okay. Well, I think this is the takeaway. Like, I think we've got a game plan and I think we've got a goal, and I think you can do it.
Yeah.
So I think the takeaway for everybody here today is address your problems square on, right? You write them down. Believe me, we're all in this boat together, as we keep saying.
Yeah, it sucks.
Join the conversation, help us out. I've been talking with a guy in Lithuania, believe it or not, who's an actor, and he's like, yeah, this resonates with me. So this is not just an American phenomenon. No. This is a real thing that we all face. But the takeaway is write it down.
Yeah.
Be like Chris.
Yeah.
Write it down, because it makes all the difference in the world. Even if it's on a sheet of notebook paper, you can get fancier later.
Yeah.
You're also using the Mint Tracker, which I recommended. Yep. That's this app-based aggregator that I've used for a number of years now. Again, I'm not a shill for Mint or Intuit. I just happen to use it because I like it. But it does keep it all in one place, and it helps update it.
You know what's crazy about this too is the Mint. So my Mint has all my accounts linked, but the 2 credit card things I put in were actually these 2. So let's knock out $8,000 of this.
Bam,
and then
bam,
boom.
And then it will do the calculation of your net worth, and you'll see your net worth going up through time.
And I'll be like,
and that's just such a good feeling to see your net worth, like that line going up. It's like that. It's like losing weight, except this time you're gaining financial.
You go from what would that be, 43 to 35?
Yeah,
like that.
Yep, overnight. That's why I think that before the new year, I think this is doable.
Yeah. So we just got that student loan.
That's maybe that'll be the next episode.
Yeah, that's the.
But anyway, go out there. The takeaway is just take 5 minutes. Just do the damn homework. It sucks. Nobody likes it, but it's not as bad as you think. Just sit down and do it, and you'll be free.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers.